Our heel elevated bomb squats are a strength and stamina move for those quads, the front of the legs. These are going to be very similar to a heel elevated goblet squat, except our foot positioning is going to be a little bit different and our range of motion is going to be a little bit different. So just like our heel elevated goblet squat, you're going to want something that we can elevate those heels on. I'm using a weight plate here. If you have a weight plate, great. They're one of the easiest things you can use. Otherwise, you can use something else as simple as just a book, something around 2 to 4 inches, depending on the size of your feet. If you have a little shorter feet or a little smaller feet, you're going to want a little shorter height on that elevation for the heel. If you have a little larger feet, you're going to want a little bit more elevation. The key to remember, though, is when those heels are up on whatever you're using, we want the balls of the feet to be able to still be on the floor. We don't want to be just pressing down just on the toes. We want the actual balls of the feet to be on the floor while those heels are elevated. If not, go ahead and adjust the height of what you're using. So again, something around 2 to 4 inches in height here is all we need. What this is going to do is this is going to transfer more of that force over onto the front of the legs. Those quads will have to work a little bit more here, and those hamstrings and glutes will get a little less engaged than they would if those feet were flat on the floor. So go ahead and grab whatever you're using for elevation and grab your weight. Start light on this one. We're going to bring those heels up onto that platform, whatever you're using, and then we're going to bring those feet in just inside shoulder width. So those heels should be about maybe 2 to 3 inches apart, the toes a little bit further apart, maybe 4 to 5 inches apart here. Bring that weight up to the chest. We're going to keep that good posture as we get down as low as we can, and then we're only going to come up 3/4 of the way. So keeping that bend in the legs, keeping in that good squat position, and then drop right back into it. Kind of think of it as like a pulsing rep. We're not ever extending all the way up and giving those quads a rest. We're getting as low as we can and then just coming up 3/4 of the way. Main things to remember on this one. The first key thing to remember is foot placement, just like on our heel elevated goblet squats. Make sure that heel is up on there and the balls of the feet are still on the floor. Adjust that height if you need to. Make sure those heels are in a little bit inside of shoulder or hip width. Toes are slightly pointed out. So foot positioning, key number 1. Number 2, your posture. Really make sure that your chest is staying up, back is staying straight. Whenever you have a heel elevated squat here, it's going to want to kick you forward more. And that's going to make it really easy to kind of lean over like this. Fight that. Push the hips back to counterbalance that as we get nice and low and really fight to keep that posture. Last thing to remember, the key for a bomb squat, we're not extending as we come all the way up. A lot of times I'll see people get in the same position here, but they'll come all the way up here, just like they would on a normal goblet squat. The key to this one is we're not letting those quads rest. We're keeping more tension on them. So get down as low as you can, but then only come up 3/4 of the way. That way those quads are always under tension and they're doing all the work for this exercise. So get in the good position here. Find a good height first. Work on the form for this movement without any weights, and then start to progress up in weights to where you're really getting the burn in the front of the legs.